Welcome to the very first video of this channel, guys. I've been trying to film this video for about a couple of minutes now, and every time when I started filming, at least one car or somebody passed with a Christmas song, so obviously I couldn't film because of copyright, but hopefully this time I will be able to start this video properly. Actually, on the other side of the wall, which I will just show you in a bit, there are other people with some Christmas songs, so I'll see how much I can film there. However, let's take a minute and appreciate the good weather, because I'm not sure if you know, but in London, if it's not raining and it's not that windy, that's a good weather. That's considered to be a good weather. So yeah, back to the subject of our video. Today we are going to talk about the Roman Empire, and more precisely, how did the Romans conquered Britain. And I'm happy to say that we still have some proof, some reminiscence of the Romans that were here from the time they were here in London. And while I will be talking about this, and I will tell you more about it, I will also show you some Roman walls. The Tower of London can be seen there, as you can see in the distance. That's a very, very bright sun. And this is one of the biggest towers still standing. Now, the Romans didn't know about Britain for many, many years, until around 55 and 54 BC, when the famous now Julius Caesar decided to take a step towards conquering what is now known as Britain. However, before, for the reference, let me just tell you that I will mention in this video BC and AD. As some of you know, BC stands for before Christ, and AD stands for in the year of the Lord, or better known in Latin as, I think it is Anno Domini or something like that. So these are two types of years that I will mention. Usually when it comes about AD, in some references online or in some books, you can find the year after AD or the year before AD, like for example 43. You can see that sometimes this is the year basically when London was first built or started to be built by the Romans, and you can see this year mentioned sometimes AD 43 or 43 AD, but it's pretty much the same thing. So now that I mentioned this, let's go and see this wall basically. I think it's like 10 meters tall, maybe more, maybe 12. It's one of the biggest still remained, or still standing, let's say. You can still see the oldest parts from the bottom, the oldest rocks with different colors. Like for example, this one has a different shade than this one. In 55 and 54 BC, Julius Caesar decided to take a step forward and attack Britain. But this came after he conquered, after 2 or 3 years after he conquered Gaul, which is basically, in nowadays term, the area which includes France, obviously, and then Luxembourg, Netherlands, Switzerland, part of Germany, Belgium, and northern Italy. So once they conquered Gaul, because at that time the Romans were basically having control of almost all the Europe, after they conquered Gaul, they realized that Britain was already trading with them. But even so, they didn't know much about Britain at that time before starting this adventure, let's say. And for this, Julius Caesar decided in 55 BC to send a scout over the channel, over the English Channel, and he wanted to know more before attacking, and obviously about the people, about the land, maybe where it's best to land, and all sorts of details that could give him a bit of advantage in this fight against the British people. However, the scout was caught, and so he was captured and imprisoned, so he didn't come back, and Caesar couldn't wait any longer, so he decided basically to start this attack for the first time in 55 BC.
So they're like, oh, I just like it.
I will not be able to film on that side, guys, because as I told you, in the front of the underground, the subway, there are some people playing Christmas songs, so due to copyright reasons I won't be able to film there. So Caesar in 55 BC decided to start attacking Britain, and the first invasion was a disaster. Now, the reason why it was a disaster was because his cavalry missed the tide, so he didn't have enough people on the ground there. And although they fought for about 1 day, it is said that they fought with the British warriors for 1 day, and they beat them. They landed in Dover, or a bit up north from Dover, on quite a wide piece of land. Very convenient, I would say, but of course British warriors knew those lands very well, and although they lost the battle, the initial one, Julius Caesar and his troops couldn't stay there any longer because they didn't have enough food. The initial plan was to leave based on the land they conquered. However, they couldn't go any further because more and more British warriors were coming to fight them. So yeah, he eventually needed to go back. However, he couldn't take his mind from this very mysterious piece of land at that time for him and for the Romans in general, and he decided to try again next year in 54 BC. I think maybe now we are lucky to be able to. I want to be able to show you a bit this side now that there is no music here, no Christmas songs. So this is one of the biggest remainings from the time the Romans were here, and that's a statue of Trajan or Trajan. And yeah, let's go and see it closer.
That's like you
I think it's beautiful to be able to still see these remainings here after so many years. So it says here, you can see what I told you guys, AD. You can see AD in front the ear and in other places after. So basically this wall is built in around AD 200. So it remained a walled city for about, I mean the whole city of London, which was called back then Londinium, remained a walled city for about 1,500 years, it says here. As you can see, it's huge. And actually this this statue pictures the Emperor Trajan, or Traian, how I like to call him, and it is said that the statue, the original head, this is not the original head of the statue. I don't know how they managed to come to this conclusion, but I guess it's pretty much true, you know. Usually these things are very well studied before they are being announced. Now about the second invasion, unfortunately I went to the second place that I want to show you, which is called Leonardo Hotel, here very close to the first wall, and as usual there are some Christmas songs, so I won't be able to film there. However, my plan, because I don't want to let these things stop us from filming and from telling you more about these Roman walls, the plan is to tell you about the second invasion here on the street, and I will also film the wall, and I will just put the images together. Now, while in the first invasion Caesar brought with him 2 legions, in the second invasion he brought with him 5 legions and cavalry, almost 800 ships, so much more than the first time. The second time they managed to land, and they installed themselves on the coast of Kent, on the so-called Isle of Thanet, close to Canterbury. So in 54 BC, it is even said that Caesar and his army crossed the river Thames during low tide. So as you can imagine, they went really far in this land. Yeah, so they got quite far into this land, and then he defeated Cassivellaunus. I hope I pronounced correctly. Most probably I'm not, but Cassivellaunus was at that time in command of the combined British forces. So basically he was the captain of all the British forces, and Julius Caesar fought with him and he defeated. As a result, they agreed to pay tribute to the Romans from that point. But the moment that changed the history of Britain forever, and led to the creation of this city called Londinium, came almost 100 years later. Now the third invasion of Britain, which was also the biggest one, came in AD 43 under the Emperor Claudius. At that time, Claudius had a general, which was also a politician, and it is said that he was the one that led the troops of the emperor. I guess his name was Aulus Plautius. He was a politician and a general that eventually led the troops of this invasion in 43 AD. This time more than 800 ships, 40,000 troops, animals and supplies were used in this invasion. They managed to cross the English Channel, and in their very first night in Britain they also built a huge settlement. This is in Richborough in Kent. Now imagine all these Roman troops that were fighting for the whole day, and at the end of the day they also managed to build this settlement. The Romans used intelligent troops, so-called speculatores, which basically were some men on some horses that were going and they were gathering information regarding the Brits and the land and the people that were living here. This is another wall that you can see there. However, we can't go because this garden is currently closed. So I won't be able to show it to you from this side. However, on the other side there's a place where actually we can get very close to it. Now some say the Romans brought here also in this fight, in this third fight, which was the biggest one, elephants. Now imagine you as a Brit living and surviving of this land 2000 years ago, and all your life you've seen wolves, horses, foxes, otters and ducks, and obviously sheep and deers, and suddenly you see thousands of Romans on elephants throwing spears and charging at top speed at you. Some say they really did this, although there is no evidence. There's actually little evidence from this battle, unfortunately. But yeah, some say that they also brought elephants with them, so they can conquer eventually, once and for all, this British land. As you can see here, this is the Roman wall. However, what you can see at the top is not made by Romans, this part, and neither this part. We have here a pancart where it tells you exactly what happened to this wall. So basically, these are the remainings of the Roman city wall, built in 190, somewhere between 190 and 2025 AD, so the 2nd century. Then this is the street level where we are now. Then the third layer is the medieval addition and the buildings, and at the top is the crenellations and diaper pattern brick, work added to strengthen the wall during the War of the Roses, so much later, in 1477. So the upper part is not made by the Romans. This brick is pretty standard nowadays, it's pretty new. So the Roman wall is the one that I showed you on the other side. So what followed after that? During the next years, the Romans consolidated their position here in Britain, and basically they went they conquered everything here except the north of this island, yeah, that's how these walls are still here nowadays. This is how this huge city that we nowadays call London was founded. Look at that, nice view, huh? So that's basically the bottom of it. It's made by Romans. That's impressive. After almost 2000 years, you can still see it. That's Barbican, another area of London. And now I want to show you from how it looks from above. I personally find pretty impressive when you are able to see history with your own eyes in your own city where you live. So this is a church. This is a church that was made way after the Romans left. This is a church basically of a hospital. So it's not part of the Roman heritage, but still it's impressive. Although you can see the arcades and maybe even the stone is a bit different. From here, I won't be able to show you the other side, which was clearly made by Romans. The top wasn't, as I showed you, that was written there. But still, I think it makes for a nice view. Now let's think about some of the reasons why Romans didn't come back to London for more than 100 years, to Londinium actually, I should say. Well, although I didn't do my research when it comes about this subject, we can draw some conclusions, I believe. So the first two invasions of Britain were under the Roman Emperor, which later became dictator in 55 and 54 BC. And after that, the British warriors started to pay tribute to the Roman Emperor. Now, as you can imagine, why they didn't come back? Most probably, let's take into the consideration how big the Roman Empire was at that time. So, as I told you, it covered the vast majority of Europe, and now also this British territory up until Thames. This might be one of the reasons, also because as you can imagine, for such a big empire, in order to protect it, you need to put some soldiers at the border, which was on one hand costly, on the other hand also not only costly, but maybe you don't have that many soldiers, right? You need soldiers when you conquer new lands, but also you need to take into consideration the fact that at that time, considering how big it was, the Roman Empire was attacked from all kinds of places. So it covered now this territory from the south of Britain, then the vast majority of Europe, then also in the east. At that time they tried to conquer as much as possible from the east side, going towards Asia. And I believe another good reason is because they were comfortable. They were really comfortable with the Brits paying tribute. So they thought, as long as they are paying and they don't cause us any issue, then everything is fine. I'm only guessing here, as I told you, I didn't do my research on this subject. But yeah, so eventually everything culminated with the invasion of Britain the one that we know it today, by the Emperor Claudius in 43 AD or 8043. And since then, this huge city, this is what followed actually. They started a settlement. They started a settlement in the city of London, which initially was called Londinium. It grew to a considerable size. I heard it was about 60 acres, so quite big. And obviously since then, the majority of the walls that you will see in city of London have been built between 120 and 225 AD. This was actually the capital of Roman Britain, Londinium. So when it became a capital, they needed to surround it by walls. So yeah, that's the story. So this is the fourth and also the last wall that I want to show you for today. However, if I can say so, it's very well preserved. Let's put it this way. In this car park, we are in the city of London. I heard that this was discovered somewhere in maybe 50s or 60s when they wanted to dig up some and to start some constructions here. It's quite a famous one considering how it is positioned, but unfortunately I can't show it to you because it has these things on it. Maybe on this side you can see it here. Yeah, you can't see much, right? Isn't it interesting to be able to find a London wall in a car park in London in 21st century? I personally think it is, and it's impressive that these constructions managed to stay up until now, and hopefully more and more people will be able to see them. So yeah, this is it for today. I hope you really enjoyed the video, and I hope you learned a lot of interesting things about the Roman invasions of Britain, starting from 55 BC and then 54 BC, and which eventually culminated with the biggest invasion, the biggest Roman invasion in 43 AD. Since then, the Romans made Londinium, or the city of London, nowadays called the city of London, their Britain capital. It was basically Roman Britain capital, and since then they started a long history here in Britain for about 400 years. I hope you enjoyed. That's it for today, and I hope I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys.